Hi, friends. This is Caitlin. I am so excited to be back with you with Pink and Main. You can find me live here on YouTube or Facebook every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Although this week, because of Halloween, we were Monday, Thursday, and it definitely threw me off. All day yesterday, I was like, do I have a live? Do I have a live? So I am very excited to be back with you. I see lots of people checking in already. Virginia, Annette, Barbara, Mary, Becky, Susan. JD was in asking before we went live if we would be sharing Pink and Main's new advent calendar here. And we will be, but I don't have it yet. Michelle is working on getting it to me so that I can share it with you guys. I probably won't go through all 25 days because I'm sure that's going to ruin the surprise. But if we can, we'll do at least a little sneak peek, and we will definitely in December on a couple days, like open a door and make something with whatever's in there, because I think that's a really fun way to do that. So if you are interested in learning more about the Advent calendar, I personally have no idea exactly what's in it. Michelle said it took them a ton of time in the store to package everything up and get everything ready. So I can promise you that a ton of love and care and hard work went into it. But I don't know any specific details. It's all going to be a surprise to me. But the link to that is in the description of wherever you're watching if you want to see more about it. So, um, yeah, tonight we are going to switch it up. It's officially coffee. Well, for me, every season is coffee season. So it's kind of like hot cocoa season, right? Like cozy movie night, warm drink season. I don't know about you guys, but here on the East Coast, the temperatures dropped like crazy this week. We woke up to frost this morning. I know people in Ohio got snow on Halloween. So it's time. It's time to fully dedicate myself to, well, let's be honest, I'll probably do at least one more Thanksgiving fall card. But for the most part, we're going to be working on some holiday cards, winter themed cards. A little birdie told me there will be some more holiday type themes in this month's release. But I did get a comment a couple weeks ago asking to see some older stamp sets. I know a lot of the time when I'm sharing sneak peeks and the new release, and we're getting all excited about new product, but sometimes it's nice to pull out some old favorites as well. And one of my all-time favorite stamps is the first, I think, it might have been the second. I think I had a pumpkin spice themed something from before, but this was the first like big, at least, stamp set that I ever got from Pink and Main. This is the Mugs and Kisses. It has these adorable mugs, right? You get the penguin, nope, the penguin, Santa, the reindeer, and the Nutcracker. And then it comes with all of these extra little goodies. So you get the whipped cream, marshmallows, cinnamon stick, two different kinds of candy canes, and I just love it. It's so cute. So that is what inspired my card for today. So let me get us switched over so you can see from up here. There we go. Okay, so like I said, this is what sparked my idea. And there also is a like fall or autumn um, version of this that has a bear, a pumpkin, a scarecrow, and something else folly that I didn't use this fall. And that's one of the ones I'm thinking of. I think it's a fox is the fourth one that I'm thinking of still breaking out next week sometime for like a fall Thanksgiving card. But we'll see when we get there. So I want to use this. And what better thing to go with mugs than coffee? And a coffee set that we didn't get to use yet are the Coffee Lover foilable kit that has the sentiments, which we're not using today. And then these three fun backgrounds. So these are little coffee beans. There we go. We have all the different mugs. And then the one we're going to use today is this coffee word background. I love this because it's like very Gilmore Girls. I am a Gilmore Girls girl. I watched it like live and was like a teenager when Roy was a teenager and whatever, but it's very like coffee, coffee, coffee. Like it's very on brand for them. And it just, to me, in my mind, it's going to pair perfectly with these mugs. If the person you are giving this to is not a coffee drinker or a kid, you could very easily switch up the background for, like, we have a little peppermint foilable, we have stripies, dots. You know, you could do any other background design with foil and this layout, and it would still be super cute. So that's our coffee background. And last week when we were playing, or on Tuesday, I guess, when we were playing with the skeletons, I fell in love with this red foil. This is the Shattered Red Cheer Foil, and it is absolutely beautiful. As it looks beautiful on screen, but in person, it's even more dynamic. And so I really wanted to use that with our coffee background to tie in the red and kind of make everything pop. And then we're also going to pull in an embossing folder for some white tone on tone texture to kind of calm down all of this craziness that's about to happen. So we're going to start by foiling. That's the word, foiling. So I have my Mink plugged in, but she's not turned on. So let's get her up to 3. My little mini Mink. Leslie said that it is a fabulous foil. She was using it yesterday. Seriously, I absolutely love it. So we are going full 5.5 by 4.25. If you get the foilable sets that are like cut apart, like it's the smaller versions, those are a little bit smaller than an A2 sized card front. And let's go ahead and trim this while we're in here. This is, yeah, I think it's like 6 inches. And we'll do 5, just so I have a little wiggle room because it's not straight on the end. And I still have some for a future project. Oh, see, here's the thing. I had that. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say I had that carrier sheet and I don't know what to do with it. I put it on my Pink and Main cart. So me. Okay, so this one is a little bigger. Well, last time I tried to add a shim, it ended up being too much because I was using the real um, carrier sheet. So this time, let's just leave it and see what happens. We want the coffee layer to be pretty side up, right? Print side up. And we want our foil to be pretty side up. That just gave a nice beep. So that's done and ready to cook. Just straighten that out a little bit. I don't have it pressed right into the crease, but it's really close. And we're going to send it through horizontally with the fold of the folder in first, the crease of that folder in first. A little dusty. But yeah, many moons ago, Michelle had reached out to me about guest designing for Pink and Me with Yoli. And this stamp set, the Mugs and Kisses, was the stamp set that I used for my like guest spot, my guest designer spot. Um, and then she reached out to ask if I wanted to be on the design team. So it's like my lucky set. All right, we're gonna let this cool down for a minute. Sometimes I think that's the thing. I feel like it's cool, but maybe I'm not leaving them long enough because you really need to make sure it's cooled all the way down. So while that's cooling down, we'll go ahead and trim our cardstock. So we're gonna make a side folding card base. If you know me, I'm sure you were shocked. And I want a good bit of this coffee part to show. So let's do a full inch. We're going to do, yeah, that'll fit 2 parts. We're going to do, oh no, because they're going this way. Well, I was going to do 2, but maybe we'll just do Santa. We're going to go 3¼ by 4½. Yeah, we might have to just do Santa. That'll still be cute. And I have my extra paper set to the side because we're going to need that for our sentiment. Let's open this guy up and see what we're working with. Oh my gosh, it's so good. There's like one little baby hiccup right here. I don't even know if I can, there you go. You can kind of see right in between those E's, that little black spot where it's missing, but that's going to get covered up by that tiny little thing we just cut. That'll be just like that. And you can definitely tell that it still says coffee. I like to make sure that at least like one of these is completely like showing the word. In theory, we could probably go even a little smaller, but I like where it's at. So that's going to be our main base. And then we have this side too. So we can always, we played around the other day with adding some tape and adhering this to white, or we could always put it on top of a colored toner sheet and transfer it that way. See there, now from this side, you can see that's where those E's did not transfer, where they're connected there. It's so silly. Silly E's. All right, we'll move that to the side. Let's get my scoring board out. But I just love all of the dimension on that shattered foil. So we're going to score this for an A2 cart. Oh, goodness. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to set this to the side for a minute. Let's stamp out our mug and we can let that ink dry for a minute because normally I pre-stamp my stuff and I don't want this to run. So I was going to do Santa and the reindeer, but I think with what we're going to have going on, that just the Santa with the sentiment underneath, and then this is going to be a textured background, is going to be super cute. So let's do Santa, and he's going to need a candy cane stick and some whipped cream, I think. And for color continuity, I'm going to color on my same white cardstock instead of my Copic Express It. I don't do this often, but this is not going to be a difficult images to color. And this is a heavyweight cardstock, so it's nice and thick, and it's going to hold up to all of that ink pretty well. I mostly just want the edges around here where we die cut to match the same white as the background because we're already working with, man, I got to ink up this ink pad. We're already working with a different white than the foilable layer. The red foil, Barbara, is called Shattered Red. It's in there's a link and a name title for it in the description of wherever you are. Let me see. Oh, on YouTube. Yeah. So if you go to the description of this video on YouTube, there's a link, but it is called Shattered Red sheer foil. It's so pretty, right? Like how it flashes like pink and red and gold without even being like the main like shine. So good. And you know what? We can go ahead and stamp our sentiment while we're at it. I wanted to do sending a cup of good cheer. That would be super cute with our whole coffee theme. So I'm going to line that up right here on the bottom. And that way I only have to worry about trimming the top and the sides. It'll already be, you know, mostly straight. We're going to ink this ink pad up too when we're done. Have those re-inkers right up here next to my desk. Got like a little nail polish shelf from Target a while ago, and that's where it holds all my re-inkers. So I'm just going to take the asphalt ink, give it a little shake. Oh, Raquel, I'm jealous. Raquel said it's 84 in Puerto Rico right now. So I am going to zigzag some of that ink on. I'm not going to go too crazy before I like without testing it, but then we're just going to set that to the side flat and let it settle for a little bit. And before I stamp it the next time, I will, if I don't do it live with you guys next week, because I'll probably have some blog projects to do this weekend, I'll do like a practice stamping on something else to make sure that it's not like flooded. Okay. So our top images should be dry enough. So I did grab most of the colors that I'm probably going to use for our Santa mug. Let's get zoomed in a little bit. We're going to start with EO4. And we are going to, I just have to be really careful that I'm not smearing because I color with my hand like completely down on the desk. So I'm actually going to turn this a little bit. And I'm going to bring that right around the beard line. And then right in between those brows. So kind of fully outlining. And we're also going to, a little less dramatically, emphasize the shadows over the eye. And I'm going to add a little bit to the bottom of the nose. In reality, there would also be shadow under the brow, but there's just not a lot of space between that brow and that crease of the eye. So I don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to go in with my E11 and start by overlapping that EO4 completely. And then just start pulling out and thickening all of that up. The EO4 is nice because it gives more of that pink taupey undertone that a natural like contour would have. on a paler skin tone. And then I'm going to go with my E, right? Virginia said, then I don't have to tilt your screen so much. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm trying really hard to color straight up and down. It's just like my whole life I've turned my paper sideways. So I'm going in with the E11 and filling everything in and just making sure that I'm overlapping all of those seams as well. There's not a lot of space here, so it's worth it to kind of take your time and make sure you're getting a nice blend. And then because this is Santa, he needs some rosy cheeks. And I like to give him a little bit of pink on the bottom of the nose. And then I like to come in from the side, from that artist drawn line right there, and kind of swipe my color into the cheek. And then we can go back in with that E11 and just knock away those top edges. So there we get cute little Santa face. And we're going to go in with our white. I always do my whites before my reds because if your white marker hits red ink and you're moving and it's still wet, it can pick up that red and move it around. And there's no coming back from that. There's no amount of colorless blender in the world that is going to undo a red smear. You can get creative with other solutions like some white gel pen or a very strategically placed like embellishment, maybe if you're lucky. But if I can avoid it, I will do anything I can to avoid it. So I always do any whites that I'm going to do. In general, do my reds last, that's my rule. So I'm just kind of accenting the underside or the outside of each of these artist drawn lines around the beard. I'm creating some shadows up under what would be the hat on the bottom of the brow, and then on the little like fuzzy pom-pom of his hat, I'm going to do some shadow line right where that meets the hair. And I'm also going to make my own C shapes like this kind of on there so it looks a little like fuzzy and soft. Hey, Dawn, I'm so glad that you could jump on. Barbara said, I always forget I can do this. There's Barbara's question. So I don't know exactly how many Copics I have, Barbara, but I do not have the whole set. Here, I can show you my color chart real quick. I have a good bit at this point, honestly, right? But I definitely have some gaps, mostly the lighter shades at this point. And honestly, I'm not in a rush to get those because I feel like I have so many now that I feel generally confident about, what I'm doing. But the main things when I started out getting my Copics, I wanted to focus on coloring people, and I wanted to focus on coloring like critters. So most of those first markers that I got were E family markers because that was what was going to let me do skin tones, and that's what was going to let me do, little furry animals, little bears. I'm just blending out those C shapes and then adding some shadow to the very bottom with my C1. And when I was picking my colors, I didn't purchase any of my, or many, I should say, of my combinations in number order. I heard about the Sandy Allnut hex chart, which is what I just showed you really early on. And so I used this chart, even just like I found a picture of one colored online, and I used this to help me figure out like what kind of colors were going to make a good combination. So you want ones that are like generally together, um, right? Like you can tell like this is not going to blend with these. But some like even with these, your E49 and your E47 are pretty far apart. But it kind of just gave me a guideline, and I bought 3 sets of 3 colors together at a time. So like the one of the first combinations I bought was an E18, an E15, and an E13. And then from there I got E11 and E00, which are still like that's my go-to skin tone lineup for whether I'm doing a deeper tan or darker skin tone or Caucasian skin tone. Like it's one of those markers. Um, but I found that like those sets that they sell with like 2 reds, 2 yellows, an orange, a green, those were not going to work for the kind of blending I wanted to do. So I never bought a set. I 2 or 3 at a time just made my own. Thank you, Leslie. So that got blended out really soft. At first, I'm sure it looked really gray, but now you can see it looks really white. And once we add in the red to this, it's definitely going to pop really white. Before I go in with my red, though, I also want to do my little candy cane stick. And I am going to save myself some time and just shade this whole thing in as if it's going to be white because the red can go right on top. So we're going to lay shadow down on one side. We're going to blend that out with our C0. And Barbara, the Copics that I do have, it took me over 3 years to get where I'm at. So don't think that you have to do them all right away. If you have the money for that, by all means, but that was not a feasible option. So I would go to Michael's, and when they have buy one get one 50% off on Copics, I would stock up then and get a couple, right? I mean, by stock up, I mean like 4. Um, or if I saw like scrapbookpal.com is an amazing place to get your Copics. I love them. So you can catch them on a good sale too and get a couple at a time. But that was my approach. Okay, so now we're going to shift to our reds. I'm going to start on the mug again. We have the R89. That's going to be my darkest shade. And I'm going to start up in this corner. And because this is meant to be like a ceramic mug, I want to pull this curved line straight down and not let that touch the outer edge. That's going to give us that reflected light effect, like this really curves and has that hint of shine on the corner. We're going to do the same thing on this upper like lip, pulling down from that curve. And then our whipped cream is going to go in here, but I'm going to carry this around the back and fill it in just in case. Okay, and we can also do the part of the handle that's right up against there. The part of the handle that's curving from the top, that would have a shadow. And then the bottom would have a shadow. All right, and then R59. And we'll start to blend that out. We'll connect this line across. And I'm going to leave everything else as a highlight, right, with our brighter red at the end. So this, I just kind of want to start pulling this color out. I don't want the medium shade to be the dominant shade in this blend. And then our lightest shade is going to be an R29. There we go. Just going to pull that over. And when in doubt, you can always glaze what you're coloring. So like going over everything with your lightest shade to make sure that it's a truly like seamless blend. Especially because we're jumping between like the second digit in all of these markers is the same instead of the first digit, which is the normal way that you would kind of pick your color combinations. Right, like you would do R 29, 27, 24, but instead I went 89, 59, 29. Sorry, that was a struggle. My brain did not want to send that message to my mouth. So there is our sweet little Santa. I have one little spot where my marker got away from me, and I'll fill that in with a gel pen once that dries down a little more. Oh, Miss Judy B, I'm so glad that it brought you here. I got to figure out how to get YouTube to do that for everybody and just bring you here when your other stuff ends. So for the peppermint stick, I'm going to keep it super simple. And I'm just, because we already laid down those shadows, I'm just going to come in with that lightest red, that 29, and fill those stripes in. For the whipped cream, I don't want to use the same cool grays because now that's going to feel too cold. So let's grab the 30. And we're just going to add a really light shadow kind of under each layer of this whipped cream and then also right at the very bottom. And that's just going to help it look like it didn't get forgotten, basically. I'll just, okay, there we go. I'm going to grab my colorless blender and just knock those edges away. So I'm just running that right up against any of that harsh line on the edge. Yeah, Melissa, this is like my favorite red color combination. It's just so like rich, especially for Christmas time. I think it's just perfect. Normally I would do like green and red sprinkles for this, but because the whole card is going to be white and red, we're going to just use the R29 for those sprinkles. And then we can cut those out with our cord. Oh, let's go in with our gel pen first. So I'm going to take my size 10 gel pen and just clean up that edge. I'm also going to add a little curved exclamation point to both sides. And then I'm going to do curved eyes or J's basically for the top just to change it up a little bit. We can also add a little like line and a little extra dot here and there along that edge. I don't really want to do any between his eyebrows because I don't want that to look weird. You could also do it like on his nose maybe. Kind of has that little highlight already. Maybe a little on the handle. And then we can also add a little bit of a highlight on our peppermint stick. And that's just going to give that shiny mug feel, right? Like it's not a person, right? That's not Santa. It's just a mug. Away go. And our peppermint stick, which you can see I've used before because it still has the tape on it. Just reuse that. And then our cream. Just gonna use my fingers to take some of that stick away. Oh, Melissa said these would make great tags, like shaped tags, 100%. I think that would be so cute. Does not want to stay. Okay, why are you so sticky? My fault for leaving the tape on there that long, I think. All right, we're gonna cut this paper in half so I don't have to send my sentiment through to be destroyed by my paper shop. I'm just running this through my die cutting machine off to the side. That. If that ever happens and your paint sticks to your die cut piece, I have these little picks, pokey tool things from the dollar store. Or if you have an embellishment wand with a pokey side or an X-Acto knife or tiny tweezers, do yourself a favor and use that to peel that off versus your nails, because the chances are you're gonna like scratch or like mess up your paper, especially if you have nail polish on. But even without it, I wouldn't try to fight it. It's easier just to use even the end of scissors, honestly. Be safer. Okay, let's trim this out. Oh, I like that idea. Little hot cocoa toppers with this as like your tag for it. That would be so cute. All right, so sending good cheer. What's this panel we're working with? Okay, so we need to trim that a little. I want to be able to center it up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so to measure this out, if you have one of these trimmers, I am kind of lining up the edge of my sentiment with the wire that's in there and seeing where that R in that cheer falls on the plastic piece, because then I can flip it upside down and make sure that the O of the of falls in the same general, it doesn't have to be exact, but general area. And then when I cut that, it'll be pretty close to an equal distance on either side of those words. I think but see, that's the thing. I'm going to leave it because this is not my favorite paper cutting tool in the world, and it's going to mess up my sentiment strip if I cut it tiny, tiny like that. When you know how your tools work, at least you know what your limitations are. So this smaller panel that we trimmed down before, I'm going to place that into my, what are you, a wood grain embossing folder, and I'm going to take a little bit of plain water. I'm going to spray my water in the air and then like wave my paper through it like perfume at the mall. Back when everybody went to the mall and the perfume ladies would attack you in the department store. That's what we're doing. That's going to help to make sure that our paper doesn't crack. And then I'm going to put that through my big shot. Sometimes if you skip that step, especially on an embossing folder like this that has those really distinct kind of sharp lines that make up that wood grain, For this one specifically, I've had issues with it cracking my paper. The impression is amazing and I love it. I'll never stop using it. Even if it gets discontinued one day, I'm still going to use it. Look, I said that and then that's what happened. I set myself up for failure on that one, friends. I think I just did that a little too tight. Let's try that again. And that's what it's like to be live on the internet. So let me grab another piece of paper. I promise it's more user error than anything else. It's not the embossing folder's fault. I've actually never had it crack like that. So this time we're going to try with a little less pressure and not wetting it, because I don't think I've ever wet my paper for this folder before, which usually then I have a little problem, but I've never had it fall apart like that. So let's try that again. I probably just wet it too much. So, and also every die cutting machine has its own like procedure it wants you to follow as far as like how you stack these. So keep that in mind too. There we go. Much better. The middle goes a little weird, but that's way better. That's the effect I was generally going for. I could probably have used a shim. I think I was so nervous I undershot it, but I really just want a little bit of texture so that this doesn't just look like a plain panel, but the focus is still the foil and Santa. So I don't mind that it's a little less intense. And now you guys know if that ever happens to you at home, that it's not just you, right? Do you guys ever see like other people creating, or like these YouTube channels, and people are like, do make this card and it's just perfect and everything goes perfectly? Sometimes I'm like, what universe are you living in? Because it can't be the same one I'm living in. All right, we're gonna go in with foam tape. I definitely like that side better. So that's gonna be our, and you know, if we pop this up with foam, our elements are gonna get glued down flat. I like one or the other. Right? Miss Judy B said we need a hot cocoa foil background. I agree. I will make sure to pass that on to Miss Michelle as some loving feedback. All right, so we're, you know what, I want this to pop just a little bit. I'm going to take my R29 marker and I'm going to just run the side of my Copic right along the edge of my sentiment cardstock. And that's just going to help that pop and look separate and defined without having to do more foam. We can also add a little liquid glue to the back now. And I'm going to take my tiny T-square. And I think like an inch is probably good anyway. So we're just going to use that to line that up. That looks pretty good. Our little cup can go maybe overlapping a little bit. And then these are going to kind of go like that. Yeah, I like that. That's cute. Okay, so let's get this guy glued down. Going with my Easy Squeeze glue and my Make It by Marco little glue holder. One of my favorite tools. I'm going to quickly add this before that sets up all the way. While I can still tuck that underneath. And I want that to come up pretty high. I want it to be kind of dramatic. Okay. Why does it not want to stick? I probably just didn't do enough glue because I was trying to go quick. And then the whipped cream can go right on the top of the cup. It's a little raised off of the background paper, but I'm not too concerned about that. You know what we can do too? This is not a Pink and Main product, but I'm sure Michelle will forgive me. I have these teeny tiny little thin, they're like super crazy thin foam from Simon Says Stamp. There you go. So you can see it's so thin. So one of these little squares on the back of that, like sandwiched between the whipped cream and the paper back there, would be perfect to keep this nice and flat. So it just, like, you can't even really tell that it's not touching, but it's just going to keep everything from getting squished. Thanks, Barbara. And thank you too, Connie. Oh, and Leslie, everybody thinks it's so cute. Miss Judy B too. That makes me so happy. I really love this. You guys know I'm not in love with every card that we make. Sometimes we're just trying stuff out. And I generally like them, but they're not all my favorite. But this one is a very cute. I'm very happy with this one. And it's even on a card base. Go me. So that is our sweet little Christmassy coffee card. I do hope that you guys like it. It seems like everybody does. So thank you so much for that and all of your support. I will be back here. There we go. I will be back here on Tuesday next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Here's this kind of look, right? Because sometimes it looks different. I don't have anything currently planned. I have a feeling my Advent calendar won't be here by then. So if you have any other requests besides Advent calendar of any themes or sets or foils or colors or whatever that you would like to see, please leave me a comment. I will go back and check. But yeah, otherwise, I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. Make sure you check out the links below. You can follow me on YouTube or Instagram. Make sure that you're following Pink and Main as well. Check out that Advent calendar. That link's included. And yeah, otherwise, like I said, have a great weekend. Stay warm and safe. And I will see you guys back here on Tuesday. Love you guys. Happy crafting.